Welcome to the Deficient Vegans podcast. This is episode 45. I'm the muscle deficient vegan here with the protein deficient vegan. Do you want to say hi?
Hello.
Hi, everybody. This week, we're going to talk about how to improve your sleep environment. And then we'll also cover our myth of the week this week, which is that for lifting weights, high reps tone and low reps bulk.
I've heard that.
Yeah, I think that's pretty common. So we'll talk about it. But first up, new news.
New news.
So the first piece of news we have is that a Swiss court ruled that the word milk cannot be used on plant-based products.
That's so stupid.
Yeah, it's really kind of silly. I guess they said also you can't use variants of the word milk, like MYLK, or one of the products that was involved in the lawsuit actually used M*LK. It was like, kind of like, I can't believe it's not butter. I think it was called like, this is not milk with a star, something like that.
I just feel like this is so dumb because if it says oat in front of it, I'm going to assume that doesn't come from a cow. So I don't really know how it's taking business away from dairy milk.
No, I agree. I don't know who's like being impacted here. People just go into the milk aisle and grab things randomly. I don't get it really. Like every other food in a grocery store, you have to read the label and see what it is.
Yeah.
So where's the confusion even come in here?
Right? And it's like, are they going to come after cheese and like...
Yeah.
Chicken, plant-based meat.
Right. And then how does like coconut milk and stuff roll into this?
Yeah, because coconut milk's been around for a while.
Yeah. So.
It just doesn't make sense to me. I don't really see how it's harming anyone.
Yeah.
I don't know. The dairy industries are wild the way they can lobby for the dumbest shit.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, that is a new Swiss law, apparently.
Nice.
Yeah. Next up, Impossible Foods was ordered to pay an endurance influencer just over $3 million for trademark infringement.
Yeah, I saw this. I think it's a non-vegan endurance influencer, right?
Yeah, I think so.
You don't mess around with trademarks.
Yeah. So I guess he had been using Impossible as a brand name for a little while.
Yeah.
And then Impossible Foods came around and he ended up sending them a cease and desist. And he was like, you can only use Impossible for like plant-based foods because I don't make those, whatever.
Right.
But then I guess they expanded and it kind of turned into a lawsuit. And a jury decided that Impossible did kind of intentionally infringe on his trademark and awarded him.
Yeah, that feels like a little bit icky, just because like you're a smaller like influencer and then this large brand's gonna come and just like you already filed for trademark and stuff.
Right.
Not that I'm like siding with non-vegan influencers, but like I don't know, we have protein deficient vegan trademarked and I'd be pretty pissed if a company came out and started trying to use it.
Yeah. And apparently Impossible was aware of his trademark and they had filed, I guess, before a lawsuit to try to basically hijack it and say they had superior rights to it and that it'd work out for them.
That's shitty.
Yeah.
Impossible's not even that good of a name. Just come up with a different name, guys.
Right. So yeah, they had a different name. They actually changed to Impossible.
Oh, I remember this. Yeah, what was their original name? It wasn't very good.
Noxolotl, something like that, I think.
Oxalotl?
Something like that. It was something really strange. But
yeah. I don't know. I feel like Impossible's not even that good of a name to get in a battle over.
Yeah.
Lots of good name options.
Yeah, especially, I don't know. It's kind of the trend of like starting your company as a single word. You have to know you're going to run into trouble at some point.
Oh, for sure. One that's not very popular that I like is Unmeat. They sell like those canned meats. I think that's kind of fun. Unmeat.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also think like Beyond isn't the greatest.
Yeah.
I don't know. It doesn't really tell me what you're doing.
Right.
I feel like there are better words you could have used.
Yeah. So anyway, good for that guy. Trademarks are good. So
get your money.
And he went through all the trouble to file a trademark way before this Impossible thing. So.
Yeah. I think it's kind of like shitty that they had already gotten a warning from him and then like intentionally went and broke it because they thought they had a bigger dick they could swing, I guess.
Yeah. The jury agreed, I guess.
You reap what you sow.
And then last up, there's a company called Plant Ahead that has made a new vegan fresh mozzarella. So they've been making I guess, normal mozzarella. I don't know what the opposite of fresh mozzarella is. But a normal mozzarella for about a year now. And they were working with a bunch of pizzerias. I think they said they had it in like 30 different pizza shops. And it was really well received. So now they've made a fresh mozzarella, which there was a quote in the article that said, we're the first company with a vegan fresh mozzarella.
Yeah, which they're definitely not because we buy cheese and thank yous fresh mozzarella in Whole Foods, which is really good, by the way.
Yeah.
And it's Chicago-based, so we're always excited to support her.
Right. Yeah, and even in the article, it said that there's other companies doing this in Europe already. It's kind of new to America, but we've definitely seen it before.
I mean, yeah, maybe Cheese and Thank You is just a smaller company, so they didn't think about that, but they are in Whole Foods.
Yeah.
But if you're wondering what fresh mozzarella is, it's like the ones in the ball.
Yeah.
The ball mozzarella.
Right, ball mozzarella.
The fresh mozzarella is like a little softer.
Yeah.
It's the mozzarella they use on like a margarita pizza.
Right, the dollops.
Yeah, the dollops. Margaritas. I love margarita pizzas.
Oh, speaking of dollops of mozzarella, we're near Chicago, and we just tried a pizza place in Chicago that we hadn't tried before because we didn't realize they had vegan pizza, and it is Demo's.
It's so good.
They have really good dollops of vegan mozzarella.
Oh my God. Okay, there's been a Kitchen 17-sized hole in my heart since they closed.
Which was another vegan pizzeria in Chicago.
And this is like kind of filling it.
Yeah.
It's really good. And they have I think they have a couple restaurants. So if you're ever in Chicago, it's good. It's not a fully vegan restaurant, but they have a whole vegan menu. Pretty extensive menu.
Yeah. Kitchen was like the deep dish style pizza. And this one's more.
It reminds me of Sbarro, like mall floppy pizza.
Yeah.
It's thin floppy crust.
Yeah.
And it's really good. And they make their own, it's like house-made vegan burrata. I think it's cashew-based.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you're ever in Chicago, you should go to Demo's.
Yeah. Okay, so let's get into the main segment here, which is about improving your sleep environment. Now, this is mostly around like actually where you sleep and not necessarily habits leading up to sleep, although there is a little bit of that included. First of all, why would you even care about improving your sleep?
I mean, I think sleep's pretty important.
Yeah. It definitely feels important, right?
It does,
I do like sleeping.
I love sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
So there are a lot of reasons. One of the big ones is that chronic lack of sleep, and lack of sleep is considered less than 6 or 7 hours every night.
I think that's for men, because I've seen recent stuff saying that women actually need more sleep than men. But, we don't study women, so this is new information.
Right. Well, if you're a woman getting 6 hours, you're definitely in chronic lack of sleep.
Yeah, you're so screwed.
But that is associated with higher risk of many diseases like cardiovascular disease, diabetes, obesity, high blood pressure, and then just generally all-cause mortality, which means like dying in any way, basically.
Dying earlier.
Yeah. It also can impair your immune function. There was a couple of studies that people with like the chronic lack of sleep were 4 times as likely to catch a cold when they were exposed to a cold.
That's crazy.
Yeah. This also extends to vaccine response. So if you have chronic lack of sleep, vaccines won't work as well for you.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It's really important.
Huh. I never knew that. Every time I get a vaccine, though, it like, especially the new COVID ones, they knock me out for a few days.
Oh, God,
so
yeah.
I'm definitely getting sleep when I'm getting my COVID vaccine.
Yeah. Lack of sleep also causes cognitive impairment. So things like working memory, decision-making, reaction time, and emotional regulation.
You know what's funny about this is like, so I've worked at refineries and stuff.
Yeah.
And, the hourly workforce is on 12-hour shifts. But it really ends up being like a 12 and a half to a 13-hour shifts with handover and whatnot. And then you have like commute time.
Yeah.
But this has always blown my mind because it's like you're making your hourly workforce basically have like 14 hours total of like commuting and being at work. And then they have like no time to get actual sleep, and they're performing these like super important functions to prevent huge safety events. And I'm just like, why are we on 12-hour shifts?
I think that happens with hospital staff too. They do like long shifts back to back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, why are we doing this to all these important jobs?
Yeah.
Especially because, like, they're also swapping between night shift and day shift and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, corporate greed is real.
Yeah.
Continue.
There was a study that showed even just restricting to just 6 hours of sleep, which I bet a lot of people listening to this think 6 hours of sleep, that's like good. That's normal. That's what I sleep. So 6 hours of sleep produced a cognitive deficit, which basically means like your ability to think, that was comparable to being legally drunk.
That's crazy. That's really crazy.
Yeah.
I think also like a lot of parents,
they're
not getting a lot of sleep.
For sure.
Wow.
Yeah. Very impactful.
This is why we're not having kids. I like sleep too much.
And then long term, there's an association with accelerated cognitive decline and even Alzheimer's. So it can really, like, chronic lack of sleep over time potentially could lead to Alzheimer's.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we've established you should be getting your sleep, right?
Yeah.
Now, how does napping work? Does that add to the hours, or does that not really count?
I think it helps. I think it's better so that you really want to get like deep sleep. So as long as you can get into deep sleep and a nap, I think it's good.
Yeah.
I remember reading once, like if you're going to nap, try to do like 45 to 50 minutes to make sure you make it through all the sleep cycles.
Okay.
So.
Well, I don't have trouble with napping for 45 or 50 minutes. It's more of like, can I keep it under 2 hours?
Yeah. It's definitely better than not napping if you're running behind on sleep.
Did your parents ever nap when you were kids?
No, I don't think so, actually.
Really?
Yeah, mine were always up and at it.
My dad is like a prolific Sunday afternoon napper.
Yeah.
Like that was like his thing. Like there was always going to be a nap on a Sunday afternoon. And
I don't think my parents ever napped.
Really?
I'm trying to think. I can't remember a time where my parents ever took a nap.
That's so funny. Because I remember it was like every Sunday my dad was like taking a nap and we were all like, be quiet. Dad's taking a nap. And now I'm like, no, I get that.
Yeah.
I get napping now.
I think it's in a lot of cultures, it's the norm. I'm sure a lot of people here do it, but I've never been a big napper either. Maybe it's just because our family never took a nap, so I never really got in the habit.
I'm a big fan of naps.
Yeah. And then kind of the last set of reasons you should care about improving your sleep are for exercise recovery and muscle building. Now, these are a little less important than, Alzheimer's and
cognitive function,
cardiovascular disease.
Not walking around like you're drunk.
But still important. So when you sleep, growth hormone is released during deep sleep, and growth hormone helps with tissue repair, muscle protein synthesis, which basically means creating new muscle tissue, and fat metabolism, which is how your body lets go of the fat to burn it off. So all of those things are helped by the growth hormone that's released during deep sleep. So if you're not getting enough deep sleep specifically, then some of those things are going to be impaired. Sleep restriction also causes a drop in testosterone for men. You have more muscle breakdown with sleep restriction. So your muscles are kind of constantly in a state of like adding muscle tissue and breaking down muscle tissue. And so if you're in a deficit, as you're losing weight, you're trying to, make sure that you're not losing any more muscle tissue than you need to. So make sure most of the weight you're losing is coming from fat. So if you're, missing out on sleep, more of that weight loss could be coming from muscle mass and not from the fat where you want it to.
That would suck if you're working out.
Yep. Also, kind of obviously, probably this is the most common thing people see if they're actually working out is it causes reduced training performance.
Yeah.
So if you're not getting a lot of sleep, you're not doing very well in the gym. Your strength is down. How fast you get tired is, worse. Your reaction time is worse, which can also lead to increased injury risk. Because,
I could see that.
Yeah. Reaction time and then something called proprioception, which is basically where your body parts are and what they're doing.
What a big word.
Yeah.
I have never heard anyone use that word.
Yeah.
Did you have to look up the definition or did you know this word?
I knew that word. So that was part of the personal training courses or whatever. So I've heard of it.
Sounds like they could shorten it. I don't know.
Yeah. It's basically, I know what my arm's doing. But yeah, you have less reaction time and you're less aware of your body, so you increase your injury risk. They said there was a study that said sleeping less than 8 hours was associated with a 1.7 times more likely to get injured.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
pretty significant.
Crazy.
Yep. And then the last thing is worse delayed onset muscle soreness. So when your muscles get sore after a workout, and slower recovery between sessions. So sleep, very important for trying to keep your gym progress up so you can make it to every session without being injured or tired or sore, whatever.
Well, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Okay. As a personal trainer, there are a lot of people that wake up first thing in the morning and they go work out.
Yeah.
What if you went to bed 2 to 3 hours late? Would you say skip that session and sleep in and get the extra sleep, or what would you say?
Yeah, I guess it depends on if it was a one-time thing. I would definitely probably say that, get the sleep. But if it's something that's like a habit, I'm not sure. You have to be working out, and if that's the only time you can work out.
You're going to choose working out over getting good sleep?
No, I guess if you're in a position where you're like, do I sleep or do I never work out? I think the sleep is the more important thing for your overall health. And then you just never work out. I don't know.
That's interesting.
You have to try to be active as you can, but if you can't actually go to the gym and get in a session because it would cut 3 hours out of your sleep every night, then I don't think that's a good trade-off.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, hopefully you don't end up in that position.
Yeah. I don't know. I just think of people on shift work, I feel like, or people with kids,
Yeah.
Where they just don't have much free time.
That's hard. I don't think the benefit of a gym session would make up for sleeping that much less on a regular basis.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure. I wouldn't think so.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Something to ponder.
Yeah. So now that you know why you should care about sleep a little bit, let's talk about some of the things in the sleep environment that you can control and, how they affect your sleep. So the first big one is light. some of the things you want to try to do, now this one is a little bit of behavior, is minimize screen use or blue light use right before you go to bed. And the reason for that is that blue light specifically suppresses your melatonin production. And melatonin is kind of what makes you get tired and know when you're going to go to sleep. So if you're looking at blue light for a couple of hours before you go to bed, your melatonin production doesn't really start ramping up until you stop looking at the blue light. And so you get tired later, basically.
Now, I can be watching TV and get tired always.
Yeah. I mean, it's not shutting it down. It's just suppressing it.
My melatonin production must be high.
So yeah, minimize screens. Some electronics have the option to remove blue light at a certain time.
Yeah, and make sure your screen look kind of like weirdly orangey red.
Yeah. So that can help. You can also use blue light blocker glasses, but these are kind of...
a gimmick, man.
They're a little bit of a gimmick because a lot of the ones they sell are basically clear lenses, which don't really block a lot of blue light. And they're actually mostly sold for like eye strain and stuff, which they don't actually have a lot of evidence for. So
yeah. No, I've tried some before.
Yeah.
Didn't see much of a difference.
Yeah. So the one good thing they might be used for is sleep, but you actually have to get the kind that are like pretty amber or like an orange. So it's like it really changes the tone, kind of like what the screen does.
And I know you young people aren't getting those because I've only ever seen men over like 60 wearing those.
Yeah. So if you are going to try to use those for your blue light blocking at night, they have to be like the actual amber lens.
Yeah.
So, also in rooms you use after sunset, you can use warm tones on your lights, which is, if you look on a light bulb case, they have like the temperature, make sure it's under 2700 K to be a warm light. So that'll help you feel like you're, more ready to go to sleep.
Yeah, we have Christmas lights hooked up to like an Alexa switch.
Yeah.
And those are warm lights.
Yeah.
So we turn those on at night.
And then last, pretty common, I think people know about this, is use blackout curtains or sleep masks.
Oh, yeah. Blackout curtains come in clutch, especially if you're, sleeping during the day, working night shift or something.
Yeah. And apparently even like one LED in a room is enough to kind of throw you off a little bit. So
that's interesting.
Yeah. Next up is temperature. So controlling the temperature in the room. Cooler temperatures improve sleep quality and duration.
Oh, I believe that.
Yeah. So ideally, you would want the room to be around 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit.
Yeah. Which we do.
Right.
Now, growing up, my dad, he got cold. Like, he got really cold because he worked in a factory, which was hot all the time.
Yeah.
So he, like, especially in the winter, he would, like, crank the heat up to where it was, like, I don't know, like mid-70s in the house.
Yeah.
And I could not sleep with it that hot. And so I'd wait till he was asleep and open my window a crack, even though it was like snowing outside.
Yeah.
So I could fall asleep because it was so hot.
Yeah. So interesting that you mentioned your dad works in a factory, so he liked it a little warmer. But research has shown your body doesn't actually get used to sleeping hotter.
Really?
Yeah. So even if you feel like you're more comfortable, you're getting less quality sleep at those temperatures. So.
Maybe that's why he likes Sunday naps.
Yeah. What I saw was basically people in countries where it's warmer and they don't have air conditioning, stuff like that. They basically just like continuously have impaired sleep because of the high temperatures, and they never really get used to it.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So it's interesting. There's kind of a trick you can do with like a warm shower or a warm bath. There was a big meta-analysis that showed that a warm shower or bath, and warm by their terms means 104 to 109 degrees Fahrenheit, which is like 40 to 42.5 Celsius. 1 to 2 hours before bedtime significantly shortened basically how long it takes you to fall asleep.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
I fall asleep in less than 5 minutes, so I don't think I've ever picked up on any of this.
I don't think everybody's quite that lucky. So
I am lucky.
If you're somebody that takes a long time to fall asleep, maybe try a warm shower an hour or two before bed. The shower can be as short as 10 minutes. It doesn't need to be a long, drawn-out thing. Basically, the warm water dilates your blood vessels in your hands and your feet, reducing the temperature in your core. Which is similar to the way we talked about on the last podcast about how glycine helps. So kind of the same mechanism.
Interesting.
Some ways to adjust the temperature in your room. So you can use fans. This also doubles as white noise, and it's also good for places that don't have like central air conditioning. You can use cotton or linen bedding to make sure you stay cool. Open a window is a big one, and also good for something we're going to talk about here in a second. Separate blankets if you sleep with a partner.
Dude, this one This one's a good one.
Yeah.
We've been sleeping with separate blankets forever because I require a very warm blanket and you do not.
Right. I basically don't.
You just want a sheet, essentially.
And then there's also some technology if you want to go that route. There's the 8 sleep bed thing where you can basically put it over the bed and then you can set the temperatures differently on different sides of the bed.
I know this is expensive, but this is my favorite thing in our entire house.
Yeah.
It is just the greatest invention of all time.
Yeah, it's really interesting. It'll kind of like smart adjust overnight to your body temperature. And also it does like heart rate and respiration and stuff. And it kind of adapts. And then it also adapts to the room temperature. So it can kind of keep you in the sweet spot of the sleep zone all night long.
Yeah, and it'll give you information on how your sleep was and stuff.
Yeah. So you could go that route. If you're in an environment where you can't get the room cooler no matter what you do, you can't really open the windows for whatever reason.
Yeah, or you're sleeping with someone and they're completely different than you because basically I think you keep yours kind of cold, but I have to get mine warm because we keep the room cold and then I'm dying.
Yeah.
I'm freezing.
Yeah. And a general rule of thumb for the temperature of the room is if the room feels comfortable when you're just standing around in it, it's probably too warm for sleep. You should feel a little cold when you're just standing around in there.
Yeah, that thing is expensive though.
Yeah.
But if it broke tomorrow, I'd buy it again.
Yeah, it is definitely expensive.
I require it.
Mattresses are pretty expensive too, but I heard something once that was don't be afraid to spend money on things that go between you and the floor, like chairs, shoes, tires, beds. Especially
you're sleeping 1/3 of your entire life, so you'd probably want it to be pretty okay, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. If it's something you're doing 33% of the time, think of all the stuff you spend money on that you're maybe really spending 2% of your life doing.
Yeah.
And you're willing to spend a bunch of money on that. And it's sleep is probably more worth it than most things.
Yeah, for sure. Another factor that could affect sleep that doesn't get talked about as much is actually the air quality. So a lot of bedrooms, especially in older homes, are not well ventilated. So 2 people in a closed bedroom can increase the carbon dioxide overnight to something like 2,000 to 3,000 parts per million, which you don't have a frame reference for that is too high for a room. Outdoor levels, if you're just outside, is right at 400 parts per million carbon dioxide. So if your room is 6 times that,
maybe not amazing.
Not great. Yeah.
Just have less oxygen in the air.
Yeah.
Did you just put plants in your room?
No. Specifically, they tried that and said that basically does nothing.
What?
Yeah.
What if I put a lot of plants in my room?
They said that it does not work.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's really interesting.
I saw that specifically mentioned.
Maybe because humans breathe out way more CO2 than plants breathe out oxygen?
Yeah, maybe.
Interesting.
Yeah. There was a 2016 study that showed that sleep quality was objectively better at 600 parts per million, which is a little higher than outside, than it was at 2,500 parts per million. So,
yeah,
and 2,500 was kind of the common for a normal, not ventilated room, 2 people. If you have some animals, it's probably even higher. Some ways you can adjust for this are, the best one is just open a window, even just a little bit. That's the easiest and best way to kind of balance out the CO2. You can also keep your bedroom door open to improve airflow.
You can't keep your bedroom door open because monsters.
Right. You can also use a fan to circulate the air. This doesn't really help much if the door or window are both closed, but it's better than nothing because really you're just circulating it in the same room.
Yeah.
You're not doing a whole lot.
I'm recirculating the 2,500 part per million air.
Right. If your house has an air conditioning heating system that pulls in air from the outside.
Yeah, like an external intake.
Yeah, then you're probably fine. You're not going to really have this issue. But that's mostly only a thing in kind of newer construction. So
yeah, this may also not be a thing if you're in an apartment.
Yeah, for sure. And then you can just get a little CO2 monitor to check the room and measure any adjustments and see how it is. They're actually not that cheap. I think they're $25 for a little monitor. So, but if you just want to get it and make sure you're in good shape.
That actually seems pretty cheap to me. We used to wear around these personal H2S monitors and it would monitor other things as well. But those things were well over $1,000.
Oh, at work?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
I guess it's good to know if you're going to die, though.
Yeah. Yeah, because hydrogen sulfide. H2S, it smells if it's in lower amounts, it smells like eggs.
Mm.
You get this eggy smell, but basically your nose stops smelling it almost immediately.
Oh, wow.
And also, I think if it's over a certain amount, you maybe don't really smell it at all anyways, and then you just die. So
yeah, nobody wants that. $1,000, small price to pay for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's one thing you might look at and I would really only even think about this if you know that you're in kind of an enclosed room, you don't get a lot of fresh airflow, you close the door, stuff like that. Maybe think about it. If you don't have any of those things, this is probably not an issue for you.
Or if your sleep is just amazing.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe you don't care.
Yep. Then another one is the noise. So even small noises can cause something called a micro arousal, where you kind of wake up a little bit, even if you don't.
Micro arousal?
Yeah. Sounds like Friday night. But that can disrupt your sleep a little bit, even if you don't notice it. The most common fix for this is a white noise machine or a loud fan, or we also use like sleep stories.
Oh, man, I love sleep stories.
Yeah. That doesn't help all night long, though. That's just to help you fall asleep.
We have the fan, and then we do thunder sounds all night, and then a sleep story.
Yeah. It's like a whole thing. We have a ritual. Earplugs can also be good, but make sure you use either the single-use foam ones or clean, reusable ones pretty regularly.
Yeah.
You can get like an ear infection. But overall, as long as you're using clean ones, it's pretty safe.
Yeah. So. I always feel like when I've had to use earplugs for sleep, they always make my ears hurt.
Yeah. I've tried it once or twice, and they hurt my ears too.
It's like 8 hours of having those in your ear.
Mm-hmm.
And I have my tragus pierced, so like earplugs in general don't feel amazing in my ears.
Yeah. Also, if your partner is snoring loudly, that can be disruptive.
Yeah, so punch them in the face.
Could be a sign of sleep apnea. So if your partner really snores a lot, you should probably have them go to the doctor because they could have sleep apnea. And if you have sleep apnea and you go get treated for it, it's going to change your life. So I would recommend that.
You would know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, plus like sleep apnea, you stop breathing, right?
Yeah.
In the middle of the night.
Sleep apnea is basically you suffocate 20 to 30 times a night for a couple of seconds at a time.
Yeah, that's probably not amazing for your sleep.
Yeah.
I wouldn't think.
Yeah. Not great.
Also, snoring is really loud.
Yeah.
I think like snoring makes me more angry than almost anything. Like if I hear someone snoring, it takes everything in me to not be homicidal. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm
like, okay, I can do this.
And then something else for noise is you can use rugs, curtains, and soft furniture to absorb sound. This mostly only helps with inside sounds, like if you've got, creaky pipes or stuff going on in your house. But it can help a little bit with outside sounds.
Speaking of outside sounds, our neighbor, he has an above ground pool and it's not full of water. And we had a huge windstorm. And so now it's like completely dislodged and crumpled, like the lining yanked out. And like now the pool is crumpled. And so it's just like loose sheet metal. And every time the wind hits, it sounds like the craziest thunderstorm ever. And this has been like 4 weeks. And it does disrupt my sleep.
Yeah, it's woken me up a couple times. It sucks for his pool. Hopefully he gets it figured out. Yeah. And then a couple of things that aren't really environment related, just really briefly. I wouldn't use caffeine after like somewhere around noon to 2 p.m. This really depends on your sleep time. So the real rule is coffee should be at least 9 hours before bed.
Yeah.
So this is kind of dependent on the dose of caffeine. So something like a pre-workout, they say should really be like 13 to 14 hours before bed, which if you do the math on that, sounds like you probably shouldn't use a pre-workout with caffeine too much.
Unless you're working out first thing in the morning, I guess.
Yeah. And so, I stopped using caffeine quite a long time ago, and it definitely helps with like my sleep regulation, I've noticed. But technically the dose they have in a lot of pre-workouts, the half-life on it takes almost 14 hours to get out of your system. And the thing about caffeine is like, even if you can fall asleep, the caffeine is still like keeping you from getting into the deeper sleep.
Right.
So a lot of people, most people probably like have caffeine all day and like even into the evening. And they're like, I fall asleep fine. I sleep fine. Well, it's like your sleep is really impaired a little bit. You just don't know it. So
yeah.
Also, a consistent sleep schedule helps a lot with your sleep quality. So just falling asleep around the same time every night, getting up around the same time every morning, even on the weekends, if it doesn't sound miserable to you, can really help with the quality of your sleep. Yeah.
And then, like there were a couple supplements, right, that'll like help you kind of fall asleep easier. Like magnesium is one of them, isn't it?
Yeah, potentially. The ones we talked about last time were like magnesium with glycine, magnesium glycinate, that can help potentially with sleep. L-theanine can kind of promote relaxation. Ashwagandha can kind of help with sleep. I think they're all like on the study front. They're like, it kind of sometimes helps, sometimes doesn't. It really depends on the person. Sometimes it doesn't seem like it does anything. But, I use them. They seem to help me at least fall asleep. So
I feel like I notice a difference when I'm taking magnesium and when I'm not taking magnesium.
Yeah. So there are a couple of things like that can, you can use. If you're having a little bit of trouble falling asleep, maybe just mess around with some stuff that's not, risky or anything. But
what are your thoughts on like fitness trackers that give you sleep data? Do you think that's useful for like troubleshooting?
I think it's useful for a couple of things. I know one of the big things people have when they start wearing a sleep tracker is they notice how much even a little bit of alcohol really wrecks their sleep. So if you're somebody that drinks, that could be pretty eye-opening for you.
Okay.
And I guess also, like if you're somebody who drinks caffeine pretty late in the day, I bet you'd see some of those similar trends. So that could be helpful. But in general, like if you feel like your sleep's okay, it's probably not doing much for you to track your sleep. Yeah. But it could be helpful. Maybe you're having like wake-ups you don't know about. It is helpful from the standpoint of usually gives you, if you're tracking your sleep metrics and stuff, it will usually give you a day or two warning if you're getting sick.
That's
because
true,
your body temperature goes up, your heart rate goes up, your respiration rate goes up. And then most of those devices or apps will flag you and say, hey, something's going on here. And then that's usually an indication that you're, sick.
But it does give you like how many hours in light sleep and then deep and then REM sleep, that kind of stuff. I don't know how accurate that is.
It's pretty accurate. It's just a matter of like how much of that can you control. And you can do, like if you notice you're not getting a lot of deep sleep or you notice you have a lot of wake-ups throughout the night, then maybe you can try some of these things and see if any of them make that better, like lower the temperature in the room.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, suddenly my sleep score has gone up 10 points, something like that. So it can definitely help with troubleshooting some stuff like that.
Yeah, because I feel like there's like different things that could be making your sleep not great, whether it's like how long it takes you to fall asleep, which is probably a separate issue than some of these other things.
Yeah. The flip side of that is I've read some things that seem to say like the tracking your sleep score actually gives you a little bit of anxiety that makes your sleep worse. Because
that's crazy.
You'll wake up and you'll be like, oh, I feel like I slept really good. And you look at your score and it's like 30.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, I guess I didn't sleep good. And then you're like stressing the next night about like, oh, I want to really sleep good tonight. So apparently there's like an actual mental impact there of using those in some cases. So.
That's funny. As a woman, I've never trusted them because my resting heart rate actually drops like about 6 to 8 beats per minute, like right before my period.
Yeah.
So when I'm like most tired, because it's my time of the month, my sleep score is always super high because my resting heart rate's really low. And I'm like, you're a freaking liar. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
I always just think that's funny. Like, I guess they haven't figured that out yet for some reason, but that's a thing.
Or maybe it just really does give you better sleep.
Okay.
All right. That's pretty much it. To summarize some of the kind of actionable takeaways here, cool down the room, 65 to 68 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 to 20 Celsius, maybe with a fan, open window, or lighter bedding, something like that. You can do that really cheaply. Make it darker, blackout curtains or a sleep mask. Use warm tone lights in the room. Try to ventilate the room, open a window, open a door to keep the carbon dioxide down. Keep the noise interruptions out. So with a white noise machine or a fan, or if you have like really specific issues, or maybe you're like third shift and you have noise issues, earplugs could be a good way to go. And then try the warm shower 1 to 2 hours before bed for about 10 minutes at 104 to 109 degrees Fahrenheit. Not that you have a shower thermometer.
That feels cold to me.
Well, yeah. Your idea of a warm shower is whatever the maximum of the hot water heater is. Yeah.
We did turn up the water heater to account for how hot I need a shower.
Yeah. And now I have to try not to burn myself for some reason. I don't know. Your skin is different than anybody else's skin for some reason. And you can do kind of the top 4 things on the list for under $50. So this is not something you have to invest a lot of money into. It's just little tweaks you can make here and there. That's a better return on investment than anything you're going to find in like the supplement aisle.
Oh, yeah. So, that's true.
Yeah. All right. So let's get into our myth of the week this week, which is that high reps tone and low reps bulk.
This is what they tell women.
Yeah. So there's a general thought process of like toning muscle, which I guess to a lot of people you think of like long, lean muscles.
Like Pilates body is like what the vibe is, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, like toning isn't really a thing, but when you're thinking of, like when you think of tone, everybody knows kind of like what you're talking about.
It means that you have low fat, but you don't have any muscles that are definable.
Basically, it's like your muscle isn't like...
You look like you eat, but not that you work out.
Yeah, there you go.
No, wait. You look like you don't eat, but you also don't work out. That's what toned looks like.
Right. And then low reps, bulk, means like people think that if you do lower reps, which is heavier weights, then you're going to turn into like a power lifter or bodybuilder type.
Yeah, they really like to scare women with this one.
Yeah.
Like, don't lift or you're going to get so bulky.
Which is crazy, because that's like saying, don't go outside and go for a run and you'll end up in the Olympics.
Don't read or you'll end up in Mensa.
Right. So high reps tone, low reps bulk is pretty much entirely nonsense. The studies show that anything between 5-ish reps and 30-ish reps is pretty much equivalently effective for building muscle, as long as you're within a couple reps of failure.
Yeah.
So with the high reps tone thing, what a lot of people will do is they'll get a very light weight. Yep. They'll do high reps, but they won't be anywhere near failure. Yeah. So they're just not really building muscle.
If you're only using a 2-pound dumbbell, you can do 5,000 reps and you're probably still not close to failure because that's just like lifting your arm.
Yeah.
But that's what they have us doing.
Yeah. And that basically turns it into kind of a slightly weighted cardio session is all it really does.
Oh, yeah. So I've always felt that way about a lot of girl workouts.
You're burning a lot of body fat. You're also burning some muscle because you're not really building muscle. Mm-hmm. So that lean look, in a lot of cases, is like just low muscle mass and low body fat.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Which wayfish look is back, apparently.
What is that?
Like, like the look of being emaciated seems to be trending in Hollywood. So
yeah, that's unfortunate.
So we need to stop that.
It makes me uncomfortable.
Makes me uncomfortable too.
Yeah. So high reps tone, low reps bulk is not a thing. 5 to 30 reps does pretty much the same thing. Just get all your sets close to failure. So if you want to use heavier weights, you'll use lower reps. If you want to use lighter weights, or you're like your dumbbells only go so high, shoot for higher reps. But always make sure you're getting a real challenge in, and you're only 2 to 3 reps away from not being able to do the thing anymore.
Yeah. And even lifting heavy will not make you bulky.
No.
And being strong is cool.
Yeah.
You don't want to be weak.
Especially for a female, because you just biologically put on muscle slower. So, I mean, you would really have to do everything perfectly for several years and intentionally try to build muscle to get anywhere near like the thing you think in your mind as a bulky woman.
And honestly, since it's so slow, you will notice if you're getting to where you don't like, and then you can adjust your course. If you're like, oh no, I've put on 80 pounds of muscle, which would never happen, by the way.
Yeah, that's another thing that's always been interesting to me is like, it's not going to happen in 2 weeks. So like, if you're 18 months in, 2 years in, and you're like, okay, then I'm getting like a little more muscle than I want. Just stop. Or,
the patriarchy wants you to be weak. So do the opposite of that.
There you go. Yeah. So I think that is pretty much it for this week. If you could, rate and review us on Apple Podcast and Spotify, that really helps us out. Also, you can leave comments on Spotify and YouTube. We like seeing those as well. And then we have our Deficient Vegans Discord, which is linked in the show notes, along with our Instagrams and the websites and all that stuff. So come chat with us in the Discord. We'd like to hang out with you.
If you have any questions about sleep, send him a message.
Or jump in the Discord. We can all talk about it.
Oh, yeah. We like talking about sleep.
Yeah. All right. I think that's it. You want to say bye?
Bye.
Bye, everybody.